Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good evening. You're watching Oman News. First, the headlines. On behalf of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, His Highness Sayyid Fahad bin Mahmoud Al Saeed receives His Excellency the Secretary General of Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Raising enrollment at university education and higher studies, top items of the 9th five-year plan of the Ministry of Higher Education. Foundations and principles steering state's policy are discussed in a training program by the Ministry of Civil Service. And on World Malaria Day, the Ministry of Health presents a successful experiment in eradicating the disease. Those are the headlines, and now the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos has received a cable of thanks from His Highness Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmel Al-Jabir Al-Sabah, Emir of the State of Kuwait, in reply to His Majesty's cable of condolences on the death of Sheikh Sabah Nasser Al-Saud Al-Sabah. On behalf of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, His Highness Sayyid Fahad bin Mahmoud Al Saeed, Deputy Prime Minister for the Council of Ministers, received in his cabinet today His Excellency Iyad Amin Madani, Secretary General of Organization of Islamic Cooperation. His Highness welcomed the guest and his delegation. They reviewed efforts made by the organization and its role in dealing with current challenges witnessed by the Islamic world within global changes and means of dealing with them to perform its message in strengthening contact among Islamic countries. His Highness referred to Sultan's efforts to spread noble Islamic message in the world. Talks also covered prospects of organization's work and role in contact with countries of the world to highlight splendid image of Islam. On his side, His Excellency the Secretary General of Organization of Islamic Cooperation expressed his delight of his visit to the Sultanate, praising his comprehensive progress in all spheres under wise leadership of His Majesty the Sultan, and expressed his profound thanks and appreciation for the Sultan's continued support to the organization. The meeting was attended by His Excellency Yusuf bin Alawi bin Abdullah, Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs. Relations between the Sultanate and Spain were reviewed by His Excellency General Sultan bin Mohammed Al-Nu'mani, Minister of the Royal Office, with His Excellency Juan Jose Altason, Spain's accredited ambassador to the Sultanate. They also discussed ways of strengthening these relations on various fields to achieve joint interests, in addition to numerous matters of concern to both countries. Challenges facing Islamic world, especially developments in the occupied Palestine territories in Syria, northern Mali, Central Africa and Myanmar, were discussed by His Excellency Yusuf bin Alawi bin Abdullah, Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs, with His Excellency Iyad Amin Madani, Secretary General of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, who stated that he listened to points of view of His Excellency the Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs in that related role of the organization in current and future stages. He also mentioned that his visit to the Sultanate aimed to present thanks and gratitude for His Majesty Sultan Qaboos and the government for support exerted for him to assume this post, as well as Sultanate's support to the organization. Discussing numerous topics, especially that related to work of Islamic Cooperation Organization, its relations with international groupings, were the focus of the meeting between His Excellency Darwish bin Ismail Al-Balushi, Minister responsible for Financial Affairs, and His Excellency Iyad bin Amin Madani, Secretary General of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. They also discussed his prospective role to support small and medium enterprises for their positive output on economies of member countries. A workshop organized by the Ministry of Higher Education discussed increasing the percentage of colleges admission and the accommodating capacity of universities and specializations. They also reviewed their 9th five-year plan. The priorities of this workshop were encouraging foreign students to study in the Sultanate and graduate best cadres which labor markets need. The workshop reviewed the mechanism of higher education outcomes by developing study curriculum and increased the efficiency of using technologies and developing research projects. Developing skills of personnel occupying supervisory positions was focused of meeting of His Excellency Sheikh Khalid bin Umar Al Marhoun, Minister of Civil Service, with the delegation of National School for Public Administration of France and the University of Aix-Marseille. They also discussed numerous aspects related to training programs for administrative officials. The French delegation's visit to the Sultanate comes within the field visits of the Gulf Cooperation countries with the aim to complete its mission tasked by International Institute for Administrative Sciences to develop a methodology for preparing master's program in public administrations devoted for government officials to the Council countries. Still to come in News Bulletin. The harvest season of palm dates started early in the Wilayat of Mudaybi. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. The Ministry of Civil Service, in cooperation with Diplomatic Institute, inaugurated a 5-day training program concerned of foundations and principles focused on state policy. The program targeted supervisory category and civil governmental institutions in order to enhance their abilities and equip them with more employment skills, seeking to uplift the functionality and to develop corporate performance. The participants discussed aspects of Omani foreign policy and international and regional organization, in addition to the Sultanate's role, administrative system in the Sultanate, and international law for the agreements, besides the importance of development plan and its future horizons. The participants will be trained in 2 days on modern protocol skills. His Excellency Dr. Ahmed bin Mohammed Al Saidi, Minister of Health, inaugurated a book entitled Success Story. It included the documentation of national program of eradication of malaria in the Sultanate. The program started back in 1991 as an experimental project in both governments of North and South Sharqiya. After its success, it was applied in the rest of the governorates. The Minister's participation in World Malaria Day came to show what was achieved in this field. This celebration also highlighted efforts exerted by all countries in combating malaria. Dr. Juma bin Ali Al Juma, chairman of the Foundation Committee of Muscat University, stressed that Muscat University will be opened in 2016. This came when he signed an agreement with ISIS Innovation Company of Oxford University. The signing ceremony was presided over by His Highness Sayyid Timur bin Asad Al Said. The university will be established in the governorate of Muscat, and the committee is coordinating with concerned government bodies to specify its location. It will include various specializations, namely economy, management, engineering, and others. This university will become a local and regional center for students from inside and outside the Sultanate. The harvest season of palm date started early in Lizq village in the Wilayat of Mudaybi. Qash Lisk palm date yielded 16 bunches, and an Omani citizen purchased them at a cost of 1,000 Omani Rials. And now for the general weather forecast. Clear to partly cloudy skies will prevail over the Sultanate. Winds will be northwesterly light to moderate, and seas will be slight to moderate with a maximum wave height of 1.5 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman Television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. On behalf of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, His Highness Said Fahad bin Mahmoud Al Said receives His Excellency the Secretary General of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Raising enrollment and university education and higher studies, top items of the 9th five-year plan of the Ministry of Higher Education. Foundations and principles steering state's policy are discussed in a training program by the Ministry of Civil Service. And on World Malaria Day, the Ministry of Health presents a successful experiment in eradicating the disease. And that's all from the newsroom, from all of us here in the studios. Thanks for watching. Good night.